Hey, this is Tamu, and welcome to Thinking Out Loud. Today's topic, not a very good one, and it's focusing around Xbox and their most recent announcement, that is the closure of a few studios that they've inherited over the past few years. The first of which is Arkane Austin, the team behind Prey and Prey Mooncrash, and most recently the unsuccessful and negatively received Redfall. The second, and most shocking to me, is Tango Gameworks, who are responsible for the Evil Within series, Ghostwire Tokyo, and the most recent hit, Hi-Fi Rush. There has also been a studio called AlphaDog Studio who worked on the mobile game Mighty Doom, and that game will be sunset August 7th, and another studio called Roundhouse Games, who will be joining ZeniMax Studios to work on the Elder Scrolls Online. Overall, this is really bad news, and these past 2 years, like last year was a massive year for layoffs, and it was really bad and terrible, and this year has been following suit. With every week there just being new stories that are coming out about new layoffs that happen within the industry, and it's terrible and really discouraging to see. And yeah, I just feel like here with Xbox, it's just a new level of like incompetence and hard to understand where they're coming from, what angle they're taking here with this. Like, for me, I understand with Arkane Austin, like Redfall didn't do very well, and the thing with Redfall is it was still promising many DLC expansions and things that would build upon the game that people purchased when pre-ordering that game that will be compensated in another way now. And I'm just like, with make good offers, says Xbox, and I'm just a little confused as to what's like last year, the approach they had with Redfall, Phil Spencer said himself, they want to stick with this game and that's the long-term vision. And look, Redfall was a very hard game to salvage, and my personal opinion, don't think it was a salvageable experience, but they stuck with it for this long only to then close the studio instead of giving Arkane another chance to move on and make another game in particular. Sorry, Arkane Austin. Like, it's like these guys made Prey, and they made like Prey Mooncrash 2. They made like, and like I feel like if they were put on Redfall to service a game in a time in Bethesda's history where they were making live service games that they didn't want to make. We look at the likes of Fallout 76, the Wolfenstein Youngbloods, and now look at more recently games like Redfall. They were a product of a time before the Microsoft acquisition, and because of this one failure with a game that didn't really land, the studio has to get closed down. It's just sad. I feel like this is a very talented studio full of very talented developers, and I really do hope that many of them land on their feet, because despite my distaste for Redfall, I really did like Arkane Austin as a studio, and I do hope that many of these people get to work on and join new studios and keep making amazing games. The next announcement was the one that really just upset me, and that is the closure of Tango Gameworks. Like, man, this studio has put out some great games. There's the Evil Within series, and I know that there's many who swear by Ghostwire Tokyo, even though that's not my personal cup of tea, but the one that really like surprises me is the fact that they released Hi-Fi Rush last year in January, and this game is one of the best games of 2023, and many of us remember that game so fondly, even though it released at the start of one of the golden year of video games. You know, we had Baldur's Gate, we had Resident Evil, we had like Final Fantasy 16, there's so many big juggernaut like IP and franchises that came out this year, and Hi-Fi Rush was, you know, one of the games that we all remembered. It was such an incredible video game, and I'm just sad that, like, you know, even by Xbox's own standards, they said this game sold well and was a hit, and they're really happy with it. And now to see the narrative just change a year later, it's appalling, and it's really sad because this game was incredible. And I just think, like, you know, Hi-Fi Rush, I've talked about it so much on this channel, how much I really appreciate this game. It had interesting ideas, and it was a fun game, and it really harkened back to what made gaming so fun. And to see this just being rewarded with the studio being closed, it's terrible. And honestly, I hope that many of the talented people at Tango Gameworks, like Arkane, are able to find work and continue making creative and fun games like Hi-Fi Rush, because this game was incredible, and I do not understand why, out of all the people to close, if you needed to make cuts, you would cut Tango. The people making like one of the best Xbox exclusives in years. Like, think about it. Hi-Fi Rush is more critically acclaimed and appealing amongst fans and people playing games than many of the juggernauts that Xbox has released. I'm thinking like Halo Infinite and Starfield. Like, if you were to ask the average person, I think more people would have positive things to say about Hi-Fi Rush than either of those two games. I don't know, I'm just frustrated that this is the outcome, and it just seems like it'll be a very interesting discussion to see how Xbox handle future directs and their upcoming conference next month. The next casualty in all of this is Roundhouse Studios, who formerly were known as Human Head Studios, who were responsible for games such as Rune 2 and the original Prey, which released in 2006. They are now a part of ZeniMax, working on the Elder Scrolls Online, and have been absorbed to fully focus their efforts on that. It sucks because Roundhouse was originally supposed to be working on an untitled, unknown game that was set to be revealed at some point in time to us, but will now never see the light of day. Overall, these announcements are sad, and it feels like Xbox is really just taking a big L here with what they're doing, and it seems like they're just trying to pivot from the messaging that they had a year ago, and it's just really sad to see. I mean, all this talks that's been going around recently about Xbox becoming just a multi-platform company just seems to be more and more the case. It just seems like they're trying to just consolidate a lot of their IPs and just figure out which ones are successful and just sell them. Whether it's the Activision IPs, their Bethesda games that they want to double down on, the big ones like Starfield, Fallout, and Elder Scrolls, or just other games like Halo. But it is very telling, and it feels like these big blockbuster games at Xbox haven't really been doing them any favors in recent years. I feel like there has been a lot of issues surrounding many of their big releases. I mean, Starfield was a massively contentious game last year, and Halo Infinite, whilst it had a lot of praise around its release, has had issues keeping up a regular release and update cadence. It's just sad to see Xbox walk back on what I felt was a good way forward and a good strategy, investing in these diverse and different games and building out their portfolio. And I think that a lot of studios will think twice before signing with them in future. And, you know, they talk about wanting to build their partnerships with companies in Japan and studios in Japan, getting more versatile games coming into their ecosystem. But after they've just closed down a studio like Tango, it's like, why would people want to work with you? I don't know. It's just very backwards at the moment. And I think that overall, this is going to be a net negative for Xbox. And I think they will come to regret this decision. They just closed down a studio that's made one of their best games in years, and they are too blind at this point in time to see it, or they're just taking those L's and wanting to just go multi-plat and don't care anymore. Anyways, this is just my opinion, and from what I've read, how I feel about it, this is just thinking out loud, and that's what I do. I think out loud and just, yeah. Let me know what you think about all of this, and yeah, leave a comment down below with your thoughts and opinions. I'm happy to discuss and chat with anyone, and yeah, have a good one. Thanks for watching.